Gene cloning tools, ligating DNA, a molecular tool that can help in joining DNA molecules. And joining of DNA molecules is an important or key aspect of the success of the cloning studies. So let us look at the learning outcomes of this session. Joining the fragment of DNA with the vector DNA is needed to construct the recombinant DNA, which is actualized by DNA ligases. So this is a biological tool for cloning. The DNA ligase has to ligate both blunt and sticky ends, and the latter, that is the sticky ends, increases the efficiency of ligation. To ligate blunt ends, the DNA concentration needs to be high, and hence blunt ends can be attached to sticky ends to make ligation more feasible. Linkers, adapters, homopolymer trailing are means of adding sticky ends to blunt DNA molecules. Now, the understanding of gene cloning is that once you have the DNA that contains the gene cut and the vector that is going to carry the gene is cut, then the vector DNA into the vector DNA, the gene of interest has to be inserted. So by insertion, you basically are looking at the fact that the ends of the gene will join with the ends of the vector DNA. And so essentially the joining of the DNA to be cloned to the vector DNA is what will give rise to a successful recombinant DNA molecule. And this then can be further added into a host organism. So this step of joining the DNA to be cloned with the vector DNA is carried out by DNA ligase. Now interestingly, DNA ligase uses ATP to carry out the ligation. So the DNA ligase, here the example is specifically for T7 DNA ligase, but one can use DNA ligase from different sources. And most of the DNA ligases would have lysine at its active center with an NH2 group that is going to take part in the reaction. So what happens is that it is able to bind to AMP. So ATP is added and AMP is attached to the lysine of the T7 DNA ligase, and what is removed is the PPI molecule. Now this adenylated T7 DNA ligase can then associate itself with the 5' phosphate end of the region which is discontinuous, and this region has to be ligated. So therefore it will bind to this phosphate over here, and on binding to the phosphate over here, the OH present, 3' OH over here present, is able to carry out a nucleophilic attack and form the phosphodiester bond. With the formation of the phosphodiester bond, the AMP is released. So this is how the T7 DNA ligase functions. This is a very clear indication of the molecular structure of DNA ligase, which holds, as you can see, a lysine with the NH3 plus group, and that is associated with the AMP. So this is something that is essential for the ligation to take place. Now, as mentioned, DNA ligase can or should be able to ligate blunt-ended DNA molecules. So this is a blunt end, this is a blunt end, and these can be brought together into a bond, phosphodiester bond each with DNA ligase. So that is something that it can carry out. But what it can carry out better, or what can ensure ligation better, is the presence of sticky ends. So the sticky end over here is complementary to the sticky end over here, and so you already have a annealing happening because of the complementary base pairing. Now what remains is just the discontinuity, which needs to be filled up by the DNA ligase. So therefore you already have annealing happening, and then just the sealing is carried out by the DNA ligase to form a complete DNA which is recombinant. So in this case where you have blunt ends, the ligase will need to go in search for cut ends. And so it is very clear that only and only if you have a high concentration of the cut DNA, then there are chances of the ends of the cut DNA coming together to form the phosphodiester bond. So therefore here at this point ligation is not very easy. Ligation can be done, but it's not easy because you need a high concentration of DNA, proper ionic strength and reaction assay system to enable the ligation to happen. While in this case, what is very clear is that the ligase just needs to seal the discontinuities. It doesn't have to bring in two oligonucleotides together. In this case, it is only having to fill the phosphodiester bond, which is a discontinuity, which is not present and is a discontinuity. So that's the difference between ligating sticky ends and ligating blunt ends. And for obvious reasons, therefore, ligating sticky ends is more efficient than ligating blunt ends. Now, let us ask a question. What if the vector DNA has sticky ends, but the DNA fragment that has to be inserted into the vector has blunt ends? So, with this, another question comes up, and that is, can we therefore put sticky ends to blunt ends? Okay. And when we put the sticky ends to blunt ends, the efficiency of ligation is going to go up. This can be done by using what is called as linkers. So what are linkers? Linkers are short DNA segments that within it contain a restriction site. So here is an example where the short DNA contains a restriction site for BAMH1. And this BAMH1 this linker has to be added to the ends of the blunt end. So therefore what is done is a high concentration of linkers is used and is incubated with the blunt ended molecule and then treated with DNA ligase. So what's going to happen is all the linkers will kind of bind to each other and also to the end of the blunt ended molecule. Now, when you subject it to BAM-H1 treatment, BAM-H1 being a restriction endonuclease will specifically cut at its recognition site, and on cutting at the recognition site, it forms what is called as the staggered ends or the sticky ends. And this is something that is very important in gene cloning. So therefore, this step that is there is important and is taken care of by the fact that you have now added a sticky end to a otherwise blunt ended molecule. Now this sticky end DNA molecule can be inserted into a vector which has been cut with BAMH1 itself. So the sticky ends, which is BAMH1 sticky ends, will obviously anneal itself with the sticky ends of the plasmid DNA or the vector, which would also have the sticky ends for BAMH1. Now, what is important to note is here that if the DNA that is attached to a linker has the same restriction site within the blunt-ended molecule, then what is going to happen? So we all know that the blunt-ended DNA can be attached to by several linkers. So this that is formed is what is called as a polylinker. Now, when suppose this DNA molecule which is bound to by the linkers that have BAMH1 also within its structure has a recognition site for BAMH1. Then if you expose this entire structure or construct with BAMH1, BAMH1 will not just cut the linkers to give rise to the sticky ends, but it will also cut within the fragment to be cloned, and then you will have what is called as cleavage due to the BAMH1 site. So one has to be very clear when making the linkers as to which restriction endonuclease site should be added to the linker molecule. There should not be any restriction endonuclease site that is present within the linker to be present within the blunt-ended DNA molecule. Now let us consider that since this is the problem, why don't we add a sticky end directly, not as a blunt-ended molecule. So when you look at the linkers themselves, they are blunt-ended molecules. So we don't need to add the blunt-ended molecules and then cut to get a sticky end. In this case, what you're doing is you're already adding a sticky end. But there is a catch. Suppose you have one sticky end, so this is one adapter. The second adapter which will be present in the system will also have a sticky end. So the sticky ends can allele with each other and you would have two adapters bound to each other. So where an adapter should have been with a overhang with a sticky end, now you find that the adapters are self annealing to each other because there is complementarity. So to avoid this, therefore, some strategy has to be used. Now, therefore, what is our understanding is that blunt-ended DNA molecules can be attached to by adapters, but the adapters can self-anneal and eventually the blunt-ended molecule is only becoming a longer DNA but with blunt ends. So again, this is not of much use. So what can be done is, suppose you have this double-stranded DNA. So you have the 5' end here, you have the 5' end here, 3' and 3', and to this 5' end over here an adapter is attached. So the adapter, the 3' OH end forms a phosphodiester bond with the 5' end, while the 3' OH end forms the phosphodiester bond with the um, with the sorry, the 5' phosphate with the 3' OH forms a phosphodiester bond over here as well. Now, having added the adapter, the problem here is that the second adapter can come and bind over here. So they can form complementary binding and you will now have again a blunt end form. There is no sticky end because the sticky ends bind to each other. So what can be done to prevent the self-annealing of the adapter molecules to each other? That is the thing that has to be addressed. So what is done and very strategically is that we all know that the 5' phosphate of one of the adapters can attach the 3' OH of the second adapter. In order to form the bond between the two and annealing, you can form an adapter which is completely blunt. And in fact, if you look at it this way, then it becomes a linker molecule. So to prevent this from binding to this, what can be done is that the phosphate is responsible for forming the phosphodiester bond over here. And that is how you have this becoming a complete two adapter molecule system. So if the phosphate is present, you will have the phosphodiester bond formed. What if the phosphate molecule is not there? So if you have an OH over here, an OH and OH cannot link and therefore this adapter will not adhere or attach to this adapter. So therefore, alkaline phosphatase can be used to remove the phosphate from the 5' end. And what you would have is an OH group over here because this phosphate is also going to be removed. And here you would have a 3' OH as well. So you'll have both the 5' and the 3' having OH. In such a scenario, this cannot link with a 5' phosphate of another adapter sorry, 3' OH of another adapter, and this 3' OH can also not form a phosphodiester bond with a 5' OH. So effectively, you are stopping the annealing of two adapters by doing one simple modification, and that modification is that the 5' phosphate be removed and in place an OH group be added. With the 5' phosphate removed, the possibility of a phosphodiester linkage between two adapter molecules decreases. However, the catch is that at this end, where this is 5' and this is 3', you should not remove the phosphate from this group because you need the phosphate to bind to the blunt-ended DNA molecule. So once adapters are added to the blunt ends of the DNA, the OH at the 5' end can be again replaced with phosphorus by polynucleotide kinase. Now, why is this important? Because unless you again have a phosphate group over here, this sticky end cannot go and join with the vector DNA because the vector DNA will also have clear 5' phosphate and 3' OH. So this step is important for ligation to vector DNA with sticky ends for sealing by the ligase. There is another mechanism or strategy by way of which you can create again sticky ends. So this is what is called as homopolymer tailing. So what is done is, if this is the blunt-ended DNA, at the ends of the blunt-ended DNA to the 3' OH, the terminal transferase, terminal deoxynucleotide transferase, with say for example only a single nucleotide, deoxynucleotide, can form a stretch of Cs. So what you have over here is a stretch of Cs, but it is single stranded. So if you have a stretch of Gs, then it will immediately complementarily bind to another DNA. And that is what is taken advantage of. So if the vector DNA ends are, say for example, GGGG, then the insert DNA which has CCCC will immediately bind to it. But the length of the CCCC and the length of the GGGG over here need not match. In such a scenario, you will definitely have the polymer tailing. This is a polymer tail and this is a polymer tail coming and interacting with each other to form or to anneal with each other. But you still have a discontinuity here and you have a nick over here. So this nick has to be filled. So that can be filled by Leno fragment. And then once the nick is filled, you can have the DNA ligase ligating the discontinuities present. And so you now have an entire um, molecule that is formed, which has ensured that this molecule is inserted within the vector. DNA topoisomerase is another molecule that can be used to actually ligate blunt-ended DNA. In this case, what is important is that the DNA topoisomerase can use a special plasmid that contains only one CCCTT. This is a sequence that will be recognized by the DNA topoisomerase. So as you can see, this is the DNA, okay, with this is blunt-ended, this is blunt-ended, okay. So you have a TA and then AT over here, okay, and the DNA topoisomerase can come and bind to this and add or rather cleave to form the blunt ends, but then it will form 5' OH and 3' phosphate. You can see 5' OH and 3' phosphate. So the phosphotyrosine group of the DNA topoisomerase will create this, okay, by the cleavage of the topoisomerase, because we know that topoisomerase can act as a nuclease as well as it can act as a ligase. So it can carry out both the things. So here the first step is creating a cut or a cleavage to give rise to two blunt ends. But what is very clear over here is that it's not a 5' phosphate and the 3' OH, but it is a 5' OH and 3' phosphate. So the removal of the terminal phosphates from the molecules to be cloned can be done. So you can use the alkaline phosphatase and remove the phosphates from the 5' end. So you will now have a construct which has only OH at both its ends. So once you have this, this can then be added to the CCCTT structure in that special plasmid, and so you would have complementary base pairing happening, or sorry, you would have ligation happening over here, but you will have a, OH present over here that cannot form a bond. So therefore this has to be repaired, and this repairing is done, and once the repairing is done, you have an entire ligated product. So that's how DNA topoisomerase is able to cut and ligate both at the same time, at the same point, to create a recombinant DNA. Now let us therefore make the conclusions. Ligation of DNA ends is carried out by specific DNA ligases using ATP, with the sticky ends only needing to have the discontinuities sealed. DNA with blunt ends to be efficiently ligated can be added sticky ends. This involves addition of a synthetic add-on. Linkers, adapters, homopolymer tailing are such synthetic add-ons, and these are strategies used to add sticky ends to blunt-ended DNA. A specialized plasmid can be ligated to a gene of interest with DNA topoisomerases, modifying enzymes, and repair enzymes. Therefore, ligation of DNA to vector is a key step in success of cloning. Strategy of sticky ends for ligation has enabled use of several short DNA synthesized in vitro, which can give sticky ends to blunt cut DNA. Thank you.